everybody. Welcome back to the Divergent Comics YouTube channel. Uh, Here doing another comic creator interview. If you probably have noticed, because usually I try to keep these at least monthly or bi-weekly. I didn't do one last month. Unfortunately, sometimes I do need a break, and I have been working on some things. So starting this month, I'll be bringing two more interviews, starting with this one. And I'm excited because this was easily one of the first comic creators I wanted to interview to start the year out. But some things came up that was more so out of my control. But I'm excited that I was able to bring Mad Nellie onto the YouTube channel and really talk to her about her comic, The Black Sleeves. So, Mad Nellie, how are you? And once you answer that, tell the people about yourself.
How am I? Oh God, can't stop smiling. Yeah, I'm really excited to hear that you were so impacted by the story that you felt compelled to kind of reach out to me. So yeah, I can't tell you enough just how grateful I am. Who am I? Well, I mean, you kind of already did the work for me. My name is Mad Nellie.
Yeah.
I'm the creator of the Black Sleeves. It's a long form saga, comic, maybe kind of transmedia thing that I'm working on. That's about
Okay.
Jinn and the power of choice, essentially, and how that affects, our self-perception and I guess our journey. I'm trying to make that like the shortest elevator pitch possible because
Yeah.
whenever I talk about it, I go on like hour-long tangents about lore and all that stuff. That's the long and short of it.
Oh, I get it. So we're recording this on October 5th. Today, October 5th was one day Comic Con in South Carolina here. And initially I was just going to go to this Comic Con as just a guest to kind of like buy some comics and check out some other creators. Unfortunately, or I guess you could say fortunately, quite a few people either backed out or just didn't buy a table. So they had some tables available at the last minute, like literally 3 days before the con went live. And so I got a table and I had to
Yeah.
spend about 8 hours standing and sitting at this table talking about my comic. So I definitely get it. You want to have that elevator pitch because it's easier to say within like 30 to 45 seconds what your story is about. But sometimes it is hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. Because it's like you have that passion about it and you know
Mm-hmm.
all the nuances and all the arcs and you're like, oh, this character's doing this, and you just want to like vomit that onto a total stranger because you're like, if they catch the vision, they
Mm-hmm.
will also love it. But that's like
Exactly.
totally not the way to go. So yeah, no, I completely feel that, and like exhaustion on top of that, right? Like that those 8 hours makes it all the more challenging. So I mean, I'm giving you a golf clap over here
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, it is definitely challenging. And I would say that you are very much like me in the sense that you're an introvert. So it makes it even 10 times more tiring when you're up talking to people for about 8 hours, trying to, even if it's something that you're passionate about. So that's always tough, but it is also fun. And that is why I bring you on today to talk about things that you're working on.
Oh
But
my.
before we start talking about the Black Sleeves, what made you want to make comics?
That's a really good question with a little bit more nuance than I guess you'd think. So, I always kind of had an animation background, um, but when it came to storytelling, which was like something that I think, the most passionate about,
Hmm.
and choosing the right medium to tell the story in, I was kind of like, all right, like I had like a script for it. I didn't really know if I wanted to animate it. I felt like that would
Hmm.
kind of take forever for me to do. I mean, it would, objectively. And I
That is
just
true.
I felt like the most optimal way, like time wise and maybe art quality wise together
Hmm.
was to make it a graphic novel because it's like, okay, I don't have to put all of this time, like months and months to get 2 minutes of, screen time. And then, so I was
Right.
like, for the depth of the story that I wanted to tell and how much of it there is, because there's a lot. I've only put out 4 issues so far, but there's so much more in the works. I just felt like um, making it a graphic novel would not only kind of allow me to convey that nuance and convey the kind of world that was in my head, like literally visually, right? Like
Right.
kind of, okay, this is the universe that I see them in, and it's very different from ours. It's a parallel universe, and just kind of like all that world building stuff that my inner nerd really likes to swim around. That's kind of that was the specific decision that I made for this story. But I really love writing prose too, and I mean, like I said, I love animation, right? So it was kind of hard. It was really hard to pick a medium.
Yeah.
But like once I kind of the other thing too is like when in the early days of developing the story, it started with the characters, right? So I was doing a lot of character development, a lot of like character design, and so I think that the inherent visuals of me working on the character designs first lent itself to me being like, I got to put them in a world
Hmm.
visually. So how do we do this, Um, so yeah, I think that kind of a long-winded one, but that's more or less how I got to that decision.
Honestly, I like it. And learn something new because I did not realize that you had a background in animation. That's really awesome. Um,
Thank
but it makes sense though because I think as I've become more and more involved in comics, I get it more and more. But I feel like animation and comics really go hand in hand. It's easier to translate a comic into an animation, whether it be an animated movie or animated TV series, compared to live action because there's so many things that you can do in a comic book that you can't do in live action, and a lot of it translates much better from a comic to an animated TV series or animated movie. So it makes sense.
Yeah, you put it, that's probably one of the best ways to put it because, and I didn't really learn this until I kind of started actually thumbnailing everything.
Hmm.
But it's like when you think about how in cinematography, like in storyboarding, how it's like scene by scene, they're thinking about
Hmm.
every single shot and how it's framed, and the lighting, and like what this conveys, and all of that. It's like it's almost a one-to-one kind of decision-making process when it comes to how you're organizing panels for a page,
Right.
and how you're telling the story. I mean, of course, there's like the Gutenberg diagram, like all like that's kind of stuff you have to worry about, where it's like, well, how is the reader going to read this, and how is this information not going to be confusing?
Right.
And it gets kind of daunting. But like, yeah, from like the most fundamental visual standpoint, I'd say it's the translation is a lot smoother, and so I think in my opinion, like a lot of the movies that in television that I've seen now are based on like comic IPs or just,
Yeah.
I mean, aside from Marvel, because those are their own thing,
Yeah.
right? Like those are their own, that's their own beast. But like
Right.
a lot of like maybe like early mid 2000s
Hmm.
movies that I could think of that were based on comics. It's like I could almost see like I'm reading the comic on the page, which is kind of crazy to say because usually it's like the other way around. But I'm like, oh
That
yeah,
is
I can
true.
see this
Yeah.
being a frame. I can see this being, so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Um, so, I mean, you kind of technically answered my next question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyways. But what types of media do you like and what genres do you like to consume?
Oh, oh man. I hate the word consume. I really, man, I hate saying I consume media. I mean, that's where we are now, right? Like we consume content. But
Yeah,
I get
I
it. I'm
agree
not
with you
trying
on that, though. I
to.
completely agree with you because I actually had this conversation not too long ago with someone about how, like, the whole idea of like movies and TV being content and consuming and things like that, is very icky in that aspect because it becomes less about the art once you make it content and becomes more
Yeah.
about just churning out things. And I hate to use the word slop because I feel like it's just overused. but it borderlines on that, in my opinion. But yes, continue.
No, I agree, and I think you hit the nail on the head. That's kind of why I don't want to get pedantic, but I agree. That's kind of why I feel the way I feel about the
Yeah.
word consume and like content and all that. Because it's like, yeah, it strips the art from
Hmm.
like what you're making, and it makes everything about like it clicks and views and metrics and things. So,
Right.
but to answer your question, oh man, I love it all. You were right. I'm a total introvert. Don't know what gave it away. Forever will be a mystery how I
Yeah.
gave that one away. But yeah, so I mean, growing up, I was just my nose was always in a book.
Mm.
I would just crank through books, poetry, prose, fantasy, sci-fi. Those are like my top faves. I
Okay.
love immersive world building. So like honestly, anything in those kinds of genres. So whether it be books or TV or movies, just stuff that makes me think. I really
Hmm.
love kind of getting the gears turning and like sitting back and being like, oh man, that was so, oh, it was so symbolic of this thing. I like getting into that.
Yeah.
So to me, I guess ultimately it's like whatever medium I feel I can really get sucked into. But
Hmm.
the ones that I kind of mentioned are my, just like anyone else, are my top favorites. I did read comics throughout my life, like growing up, but
Okay.
I was a bit of a poor kid, so like I didn't really get to like buy manga and buy like, series and really get invested in a lot of them. So like,
Yeah.
it's like here and there I got an issue of Shonen Jump and I would be able to kind of flip through
Hmm.
whatever issues they had, and that and I think like Archie was another thing that like
Right. Yeah.
the Reader's Digest or whatever, you just kind of grab it from the
Right.
like impulse stand at the checkout, and that's like those are the kind of memories I have of like graphic novels. But I
Hmm.
always really loved, I think, when it came to visual impact, graphic novels, and like even video games with like more kind of like that bold, stark outline and flat coloring kind of vibe. That
Yeah.
always stuck with me. So
Nice. If you all couldn't tell, Mad Nellie is definitely a nerd, but also an animator because she started talking about video games, and then immediately I picked up on the animation nerd in her. So yeah, I probably should ask you about that before talking about anything that you may have done in the past because that definitely showed.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
your story, The Black Sleeves.
Oh yes.
What is it about?
Oh man. Oh God. Now we're getting past elevator pitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, buckle your seatbelts.
Go ahead and babble.
Oh God. Here we go. So. And this is kind of a blurb I have on the website too,
Hmm.
just for people who kind of want to poke around and be curious. But I don't have it memorized, so here we go. What the story is for me is essentially about, I mean, it's about Jinn, right? Like
Hmm.
it's about Jinn. It's a dark fantasy web comic. It explores the notion of these Jinn living in a world where all the rest of society hates them because of the powers they have and how they kind of choose to use their powers for evil, for funsies, and how generationally they've just sort of built this bad reputation for themselves, and that's sort of become something that they have internalized, right? So that's the
Hmm.
story they tell themselves now. It's like, we're bad guys, who cares? Like, why should we care about anything?
Right.
At the same time, though, you have these external factors in the world of like this prophecy and all these politics going on that are sort of forcing them, pigeonholing them into like this hero sort of fit. And they're kind of like, why? I don't care. Like,
Hmm.
I don't want this, So the way I like to see it, and kind of stepping aside from the like genre aspects of it, I like to kind of describe it as like you've seen Breaking Bad, right?
Yes,
So you know how Breaking Bad is like, yeah, it's about a guy who becomes a meth dealer, but it's so much more than that.
it is.
It's
Yeah.
about watching this man, this average man who has like the best of intentions for his family
Hmm.
and the people that he loves slowly become this really like just self-absorbed, kind of
Hmm.
driven by greed, by power. Essentially you're watching a good guy become a bad guy.
Right.
And the way I like to describe the Black Sleeves, as far as like pathos goes, is it's sort of the opposite. You're watching these bad guys become the good guys. And I would say it's a bit more tricky, that kind of journey because it's a very
Right.
much an uphill battle. It's like they're already at the point of like, why should I give a shit?
Hmm.
But and so you're literally trying to kind of give yourself a reason against all odds, against all of these factors to be like, okay, well, I have these powers. Maybe I
Hmm.
should care, so it's really about how they come to that decision, if at all, right? So um that's more or less like the story I'm trying to tell with the Black Sleeves, kind of wrapped up in a, fun little fantasy sci-fi package.
I like that. So backstory for everyone listening and watching. The Black Sleeves, she's mentioned Jinn multiple times. I had no idea what a Jinn was prior to this story. And then I think when this came out, it was either just before, or when I've actually read all the way through it, it was either just after or just before Ms. Marvel came out. I want to say it was just after Ms. Marvel came out was when I read it. And so I had a vague idea because in Ms. Marvel they talked
Hmm.
about it a little bit, but I think I had a deeper understanding of Jin and all of that from your story because of how deep the lore is, which I
Oh
truly
my.
appreciate. So it's just interesting how you handle characterization throughout the story and how you handle the world, which to me, those are my top two things when it comes to a story. And then third would be plot. I love a good plot. If you give me a good story with good characters and a good world, I'm sucked in. So that's what really sold it for me. But I want to know because this is a very deep and intricate story. Like you mentioned, like it talks about belonging and really changing your nature. So, where was or what inspired this story, and how did you come to these type of themes?
Woo, that's a heavy one. Let's go. It really is, because we're kind of getting into my personal lore now, which is fine.
Oh,
Yeah, it really came from, uh, so like, I don't want to get like too into this, but
yeah.
I come from an abusive household,
Hmm.
a broken home. There was just a lot of turmoil and everything, and so growing up in that kind of environment, I definitely had this internalized narrative of like I'm inherently bad,
Mm,
right? And so over the course of my life, which is, it's not over. The journey's not
right.
over. But, over the course of my life, over these years, and with lots of therapy,
Mm,
um, I've been able to sort of learn to overcome that narrative. Well, I first identify that it was just a narrative. It was just a story being told about me
right.
by other people, and that it wasn't really true, and
Mm,
that I had the power to change that. And so I think that like overcoming that narrative slowly and realizing like, okay, I've done bad things in my life,
mm,
but does that necessarily confirm that, these people who I looked up to and relied on, does it confirm that, the story they're telling me of me being that? Does that mean that they're
right.
right? It's like, no, you know, um, and so I guess it was funny because when I started writing story, I didn't have any of that in mind. I was just like,
Hmm.
oh, Jinn are cool. Oh,
Yeah.
and to go on a side tangent about the Jinn thing, because you're right, it's not a very, I keep forgetting just how not very well known this sort of idea is, and I
Yeah.
kind of want to touch on that because while I
They're not
very
in
much
any other
appreciate,
media.
oh, and I hate that so much because it's so it's such an exciting thing. You can hear me. I'm getting so excited now.
Yeah. I love it.
I side tangent before I go back to the original thing.
Okay.
Because I very much appreciate that you feel that I'm handling the whole idea of Jinn well. But it is just my interpretation
Okay.
of the mythology because the original, like, if you were to go to like Quran and like the Talmud
Hmm.
and like more ancient writings of like I want to say I was gonna say historical. That's not necessarily historical and like religious writings that talk
Right.
about Jinn.
Hmm.
They're really just, you have your angels in a lot of religions. You have, or at least the like Christianity, Catholicism, and all that, and then you have your,
Right.
and then you have humans, right? And that's kind of
Hmm.
like it. But in these sort of scriptures, they talk about jinn being kind of like, I mean, for lack of better phrasing, they're our existential cousins, right? Like they're
Hmm.
also these beings with free will, and they have societies and things like that. And that's really like the bare, but there's so much more to it, but that's the bare bones of it, right? And when I learned about that, I was like, oh my God, there's so much room to frolic, frolicking, right? My imagination went nuts.
Yeah.
So, that's really what kind of did it for me in terms of Jen. But going back to your original question, um, I just latched onto that idea, right? Of like, oh,
Hmm.
Jen, and I started drawing this character, and I guess nowadays people call it their OC, right? Their original
Right.
character. This was long before the days of OCs. And I was just obsessed with this character that I made in my head, and like, oh, who is she? What's she about? Yada yada. And after a while, it was like, okay, gotta give them a like, what's their life like? Like, what does their universe look like? What are these characters? So I started building
Yep.
around them. It really just kind of blew up from there. But then the emotional and sort of the thematic elements were
Hmm.
folded in many years later. Because I've been working on this since I was in my teens, so about
Hmm.
like 16, 18, was when I started really locking in.
Right.
Um, so I've had a lot of time to let this simmer in my brain and my subconscious, and so all of the like kind of the narrative of overcoming yourself and overcoming these sort of really, so I mean, prophecy is a word I throw around a lot, but
Hmm.
self-fulfilling prophecies and like prophecies that are imposed externally upon you, it's like
Yeah.
navigating all of that and really finding out who you are, what you value, and like that in that process that you aren't inherently bad. And I think
Right.
the crux of this is the idea that good and bad, at least in my opinion,
Okay.
are not states of they're not like permanent states of being. They're states of
Hmm.
flux,
Hmm.
and they only become permanent states of being if you choose that. You only really, in my opinion, you only really stay a bad person if you just decide, okay, well, I have done harm. I either don't care or I like it,
Yeah.
Whereas conversely, like, if you're someone trying to do good in the world and you realize you've done bad things, you've hurt people, etc., you have collateral damage, that when you're made aware of it, you're like, okay, well, how can I do better? How can I
Hmm.
try to, how can I make amends? And so it's really just about how the fine line between those two is a very fine line, and that line is really dictated by your choice. Um, and so I think I kind of went off I went off the rails a
No,
little bit, but
not at all.
that's sort of the evolution of how I kind of came to the theme and how I wound up folding it into the story.
I love it, and I love when stories have historical context or some type of external connector that you can look back on, whether it be a personal connection or just a connection to something like in your personal life, whether it be religious or historical or whatever, because those type of things make stories more relatable, but also make them more, I feel like, more tangible. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what made your story, The Black Sleeves, so engaging to me. I grew up loving the idea of studying all religions. Actually, in middle school, I took, I want to say, like 3 months to really just try to do a deep dive. I was like 12 at the time, so like I didn't really understand a deep dive. So it wasn't that deep, but I went as deep as a 12-year-old could go
Right.
into the history of Christianity, the history of Judaism, history of Islam, all of that, and just trying to understand like where these belief systems come from, why people believe these belief systems, and what makes people in these belief systems tick, because those are typically considered the three largest religious groups in the world. So I love that you really intertwined aspects of that into your story. To me, that is great, and I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because I think it was just inherent to the subject matter, right? Of like,
Mm-hmm.
I am a voraciously curious person. So when I learned about Jinn, just first of all, the word, right? I was like, DJINN, what is this, you know?
Yeah.
And then back like way back in the day, right? It was just like I would just fall into Wikipedia rabbit holes,
Yeah.
you know, and it was just like, oh, highlighted word, click on this highlighted word, click on this, you know, and you know, soon I was like I was reading like something on quantum physics, and like I don't know what happened. It's like 2 in the morning, you know. Um,
Right. I
but
understand
in
that.
that, yeah, so like in that mode of like learning about like what they are, I kind of it turned into like bona fide research. So then it
Mm-hmm.
became like this fascination. Yeah, okay, now we're learning about these religions, and like I wanted to just dig deeper and deeper and go like, okay, yeah, like, you know, very much like you, because growing up myself, I was very much into mythologies, right, and kind
Mm.
of like you know, Greek mythology, like the major pantheons, the ones we're most
Right.
familiar with in the Western world, and I was just really interested in kind of like, I guess, the storytelling, like the purpose behind it, and kind of what drove us to want to tell these kinds of stories about how the world
Right.
works. So it's kind of like a similar route, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but just in a different, like different branch, you know,
Yeah.
or I'm looking at mythologies and more of kind of like these fictional, these legends and things like
Yeah.
that. But then, you know, as an adult, kind of having this fascination for all of it at that point, I was like, okay, let's dig into like, you know, King Solomon and his interaction with Jinn. Let's dig into Mesopotamian
Yeah.
mythology, which is some crazy, crazy shit. I'm like, I'm so into it right now.
Okay.
But yeah, just, you know, all these different modes of storytelling from like ancient cultures across the world and all the parallels between them, and specifically as it pertains to Jinn, how these different cultures talked about these like these spirit beings that they've interacted with, and you know, are they good, are they evil? In some
Mm-hmm.
cultures they're described of as demons, in some cultures they're just described as shadow people, and I always found those distinctions to be so fascinating because I'm like, what is it about these interactions or these experiences that made people want to describe them as like inherently evil or
Mm-hmm.
inherently ambiguous, you know? And so I think that's also what sort of seeded my interest in making the story about what it is, you know?
I love that. That is awesome. Well, I hope everyone is excited to go read it because it. I mean, I enjoyed the story and I was excited as I read through it. So the way you're talking about it and the passion you have, I hope everyone else is excited about it as well. But I have, I would say, a fun question for you. Something that will
Yeah,
get you out of the whole headspace of, dealing with your story and answering questions about your personal life, things of that nature.
sure,
Um,
hit me.
so say you live in the zombie apocalypse.
Oh man, oh gosh.
What is one character from any form of media that you would want to have with you survive
Oh,
the zombie apocalypse?
uh, oh man, a zombie apocalypse. Oh, this is a good question. Um, this is probably the most serious question
It
of this
is.
entire interview. Like, I wasn't sweating before. Now, if only you knew how much I'm sweating now. Of all the media, man.
Yeah,
Um, I have a really dorky answer to this, I think.
I love it.
Uh, one of my favorite games is Skyrim.
Okay.
And you know, you have your you have like your sidekick, right, Lydia.
Yeah.
I think I would have Lydia beside me. You know, she was my ride or die. You know, she's always there. And when I was down, she knew how to like, come in and just tear it up and pick me back up on my feet. I would have
That
Lydia by my side.
that is a perfect like zombie apocalypse partner to have.
Right. She might be an NPC, but she's the best
Yeah.
NPC you could, could ever have.
That is the
Uh,
perfect answer.
thank you. I think so. I'm biased though.
So, Mad Nellie, are you
Yeah.
working on any other stories or projects currently that you can discuss?
Oh, I wish. I have a handful of scripts that I've put on pause.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in the future, I absolutely would love to be able to tell a lot more stories because I have a lot more that are waiting for me to kind of breathe to life the way that I've done this project.
Hmm.
It's really just a matter of time.
Right.
Uh, and that's sort of a, I guess that's a play on words because it's like it's a matter of time as in like it will happen eventually, but it's also a matter of like I don't have the time
Yeah.
right now. Because I have a full-time job and it there's that and then there's
Hmm.
also kind of like the which I haven't touched on, but I struggle with my physical health because I have a chronic illness, so
Mm.
that it makes energy literally having the energy
Yeah.
very challenging. So, right now the focus is just the black sleeves, and I'm just gonna tear it up for as long as I possibly can. And
Okay.
at some point, I have some plans. I'll be plotting and scheming on how eventually I
Hmm.
will, make more time to tell more stories. But uh, uh, sort of yes and no.
Nice. Well, tell us more about what's coming down the pipeline with the Black Sleeves then.
Oh my. So, I've got volume two in the works.
Okay.
Um, and volume two is going to be sort of focusing on pivoting to another character in the story.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we've got four main characters that are, and again, I didn't really talk about this earlier, but talking about it now.
Yeah.
With four main characters that I'll sort of be introducing in their own each of their own volumes, and so we're on like main character two.
Hmm.
It's really just going to be kind of zeroing in on him and his ways. I don't want to give too much away, but this one's going to be a doozy for sure.
Oh.
Um, and then, of course, volumes three and four will be zeroing in on the other two characters.
Okay.
I have several other volumes that I've already mapped out, at least like major beats for. So
Exciting.
um, there's gonna be a lot more story. There's gonna be a lot more story. But yeah, in terms of what's coming up soon in the next coming weeks, volume two, yeah, watch out.
Exciting. I love to see it. Do you have a tentative date or are you still kind of just playing around with that for right now?
My tentative date would be October the 18th, I believe. The weekend of the 18th
Okay.
is when I'm looking to officially release issue five, so it'll be the first issue of volume two.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, and then from there, I'm gonna be a little loosey-goosey with the issue releases because again,
Hmm.
my personal schedule, my sort of like navigating life and whatnot has made it kind of tricky for me to be more of a machine about releasing issues. But I'm determined to make sure that I'm cranking out story because like I'm so. In case you haven't noticed, I mean, I'm sure you have, but I'm just like very impassioned about this project, and I want to
Yeah.
make sure that I want to make sure that I do everything I can to tell it, regardless of whether it be one person's eyeballs or 100
Hmm.
people's eyeballs. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That has me excited.
Go ahead.
October the 18th. We're going to put that in pencil just because we're
Yeah,
going to give you some grades just in case something happens. But
appreciate it.
just knowing that it's coming down the pipeline really soon has me excited.
Yes.
Final question for you, and then I will stop asking you a bunch of questions and let you go. But say a new creator comes to you and is like, hey, what can I do to be a comic creator? What's one piece of advice that you'd give them?
I think about that a lot. Not in terms of like, oh, if someone came to me, my wise sage self,
Yeah.
my super seasoned self, and asked me this, as I stroke my long white beard. It's not that I think of it like that way, but I think about like
Yeah.
I had this kind of moment myself once when I was kind of in the beginnings of falling in love with animation. I had this professor who told me like find your story, like
Hmm.
find your why. And I think on the surface, it's really easy to hear that and go like, okay, I want to make a story about robots, and it's like that's my
Right.
why. And I think a lot of people kind of do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the way that I digested that statement was like, find the story that matters most to you, that
Hmm.
compels you to want to tell it with truth and authenticity and in a
Hmm.
way that excites you. And I had another writing mentor down the line that basically said the same thing. Um, and I see this a lot in, like, if you think of like prestige television,
Yeah.
um, all of the best shows that we've seen out there, like the distinction for them is that like the core theme, the core like emotional root of these stories is what tugs at people.
Yeah.
It's what makes people come back. It's not like the intricate world building, the cool character design,
Yeah.
the mise en scène or the like color palette or whatever. It's not those things. They're cool pluses, but they're sort of like the fondant and the frosting on the cake, so to speak.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
um, so to me, it's all about like why do you even want to tell a story? I guess,
Hmm.
I would parry with that question of like, why do you want to tell? Like, what story do you want to tell and why?
Yeah.
What is deeply personal for you that you want to share with the world? Being an
Hmm.
artist is about being vulnerable, I think, right?
I
I
agree.
think some of the best art is about kind of wearing your heart on a sleeve in a way, and
Hmm.
storytelling is no different. And so, ultimately, like it's a scary thing to kind of, especially as a budding artist, as a budding creator, to be like, oh shit, I gotta be vulnerable with all these people who don't even care, who don't even know me. But it's
Yeah.
like, find your truth and like get that megaphone and just scream it. And you could do it in color and style and however you want in a way that makes you feel the most like fulfilled in that expression,
Hmm.
but just tell your damn truth, I guess that's what I would say.
I love that answer. I have never heard anyone give an answer like that.
Really?
So that is phenomenal. I've asked this to pretty much everyone who's come on the podcast, and everyone gives different answers, but no
Sure.
one has ever said, tell me your why. And I know when I took some writing classes to effectually start becoming a comic book writer, that was a lot of what was taught in the class. Like, why are you making this story? And like you said, themes, motifs, those are the things that really draw people into a story that sticks with them. And so if you can put that into your story and make it in a way where it resonates, that's going to be the difference maker. And that's what's going to keep people coming back. So
Yeah.
great answer. I
Ah,
really enjoyed that.
thanks.
So as we wrap up, since you not only gave us a very good historical lesson, philosophical lesson, and a mini therapy session, um, where can the people find you, follow you, and get more of your work?
Oh, woo, plug time.
Yeah.
Well, so my website where I host the page view of my comics, so the sort of original publishing format is
Hmm.
on theblacksleeves.com. I don't know if you want me to spell that out or like how that's going to be presented. Uh, I could spell it out. I don't know. It's just kind of
No, you're
long. It's
good.
all one word though.
You're good. It's going to be in the description for everybody to click on.
Sweet, even better.
Yes. Makes it
So
easier for you.
awesome. So that's where the page view, the original publishing format of my
Hmm.
comic is going to be, if you like to read it that way. There's also going to be some stuff in the works that I'm be adding to my website too.
Ooh.
uh, down the line. But so it's there. And then also I'm on Threads and Instagram right now is at Nelly at your six, all one word. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a menace. So if you want to hear me just say crazy things and peppered with some project updates, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, um, Nelly, thank you for just giving me the time to pick your brain about your story, the Black Sleeves, and just sharing your heart about it and your passion, because it's very evident that you're passionate about it. And I think not only does it come across in this conversation, but I think it also comes across in the actual story, the passion that you have for it. Um,
Oh, that means a
so
lot to me.
yeah, it was great, and I'm probably going to reread it just before issue 5 comes out, just so I can, stay fresh and everything. Because I really enjoy it. But thank you for doing this, and giving me the last 40 minutes or so to just kind of talk to you about it. And everyone, if you haven't yet, go read The Black Sleeves. Link in the bio below, so you have no reason not to go check it out. And follow Nellie on Instagram and on Threads, and keep track of what she's doing, because she's doing phenomenal things right now.
Oh my God, I just remembered. Global Comics. I just recently
Oh
published on
yes,
there.
yes, you
Yes, I
did.
almost forgot. So if people are more inclined to read on their phone,
Mhm.
Vertical Scroll is available on Global Comics, and the link will, I'm sure, also be.
It will be, yes, yes. All the links to
Oh
find her work is going to be below. So click on it, follow her, read her story, and yeah, let's get it to the point where she doesn't need to work a full time job, so she can continue to make
hey,
these great stories.
hey, right?
Yeah, it'd be great. Uh,
That would be. That's a dream. Anyway, Gary, thank you so much. This has been an amazing opportunity. It really
yeah,
has been.
not a problem. I really
Pleasure's
hope
all mine.
that everyone reads your story, because I enjoyed it. I think I've
It's
gushed
okay.
about it a lot, and I still don't think it's enough. But yeah, it was great. And until next time, this has been the Divergent Comics YouTube channel. Everyone, go read The Black Sleeves.